When I was younger, I used to like watching Jerry Springer. But it wasn't just the fighting and the drama that I was interested in. I used to like Jerry's final thought. You know, that little bit at the end where it gives you a little bit of wisdom or a little bit of his, you know, his 2 cents on the matter. And I guess this is my final thought, and it's just mine, my opinion. You know, it's not a channel thing. It's just broadcast on the channel. This is just my 2 cents on what's happened today. It was finally confirmed this morning by West Ham first, and then Arsenal after, that Declan Rice is now an Arsenal player. He's not a West Ham player anymore. But before we react to everything that we see online, before we start the infighting, well, I say infighting, but, you know, the arguments between the Arsenal fans and the West Ham fans, I mean, they are a strange bunch of people at the best of times. And they seem to take pride in telling us that they've taken their best player. And of course, there's football banter, and that's what football's all about. We've been privileged, in my opinion, to see Declan Rice come through our academy. A young lad that was a shaky centre-back at the start has proven himself and played himself into our hearts and proven himself to be one of, in my opinion, the world's best midfielders. And we was lucky enough and privileged enough to see him gracing the London Stadium for 6 years. A confident lad, a positive lad, an ambitious lad, and that word ambition will become prevalent in the message that I'm about to say. And look, it hurts when a player leaves your club, any player, but it especially hurts when a player that you become emotionally attached to, or is the best player from your club, or is one of your own academy. It hurts even more when they leave. And we've seen it many, many times down the years. We've seen the likes of Rio Ferdinand, Glenn Johnson, Frank Lampard, Joe Cole, Michael Carrick, all leave before Declan did at the age of 24. They was all gone by the time they was 24. And there is no doubt in my mind that once they left West Ham, that's where they found their feet. That's where they spread their wings. Declan has, whether you like it or not, has by definition left a legacy at this football club. He is only the third captain that's ever lifted a trophy for West Ham. The other two being Billy Bonds and Bobby Moore. Now, I can see where a lot of people get their anger from when it's discussed whether he's a legend at the football club or whether he's give us enough time, because Bobby and Billy give their whole careers to West Ham and they committed themselves. But football in all ways has changed so much since then. It's a business now. It's run by analytic, science, athletics, facilities, you know, the more modern facilities. And there's one trait that Declan, which has come to serve us so well over the years, is Declan's ambitious and he wants to be the best and the very best he can. And whether we want to admit it or not, and whether or not we feel Arsenal are the right place or not, there is no denying that Arsenal at the moment are in a better place than West Ham. And they'll always be in a better place than West Ham when it comes to the ownership, because ambition is what drives Declan Rice. And we've known that for many years. And that's led him to commit so much to this football club, and that's why we fell in love with him. He's ambitious, he's positive, He strives to be the very best. And I think that is, and this is my opinion, born from the rejection from Chelsea at an early age. It must be a difficult place to be as a kid when the club you grow up at lets you go and basically tells you you're not making it here, son. And there's something inside Declan that wants to drive and be the very best and play at the very best, and I suppose prove to people, the doubters, that he can. And he's certainly done that. As much as the other fans of other football clubs before he left West Ham would always downplay his talent, he's a talented footballer, and in my opinion, one of the very best in the world in his position. And he strives to be the very best he can. He strives to be the very best for West Ham, and he will strive to be the very best for Arsenal, and he will strive to be the very best for anyone else he plays for, because that is the type of character we got, and that's why we love him so much. Now, when it comes to personal ambition and ambition of a football club, we cannot sit here and slate Declan for having personal goals, for wanting to be the very best, to want to play at the top with the best players and test himself against the very best. Because that's what we ask for as a football club. And that is why we've been so critical of the board and so critical of the move and so critical of the lies we got told. Because the ambition that we promised was never going to be fulfilled. And let's be honest, in the next 7, 8, 9 years, as a football club, as much as we want to be positive and hope, under the current ownership, we will never meet that ambition, because the football game has moved on so much. Money now rules the game, and David Sullivan and co haven't got any ambition to win titles. They're happy enough to linger as long as we stay in the league. And sometimes they're willing to gamble. It's quite obvious that we're not an ambitious football club when everything around us is falling down in league terms, and they think the very best thing to do is to stick what they've got. That's what Arsenal at the moment are not doing. They've spent so many years at languishing in mid-table, in obscurity, without Champions League football. And they're trying to change. They're trying to change things by spending more money, by signing more quality, by becoming a philosophy, by showing a bit of ambition. Now, whether or not, as I said, we agree that the next move for Arsenal, the next move for Rice to Arsenal is the right one or not, only time will tell, you know? And that's Declan's gamble to take. It's not ours to, you know, I've got an opinion that they may not challenge, and they may have been a one-season wonder, and there's other teams that may surpass them by taking the shortcut. But then you've got Arsenal fans who are adamant that they're going to be winning the league and the Champions League. No one can tell for certain. No one can tell Declan that he's made the right or wrong move until we've seen proof. As I said, it's always hard to let a player go that you've personally committed to. But what Arsenal have got is a fantastic player. As I said, a positive man. A guy that strives to be the very best, and a guy that will give everything that he can on the football pitch. Will they appreciate it? That's a different question. We certainly appreciated it. I was lucky enough, and I've been lucky enough to be in a position where I was in the company of Declan a few days before the final. And I had the first word with him. I got to know his family a little bit, and they invited me to a family occasion. And I went, and first time I met him. I'd met him a couple of times briefly before that, but we never exchanged words. And this occasion, we did exchange words. And I can only give my personal opinion, you know, and everyone will have their opinions of what I saw in Declan Rice when we sat there and spoke about the final and spoke about the season, is that he was so desperate. He was so desperate for success, not for just himself, but he was desperate, I think, to deliver me and Dom and Ryan and Scott and all the people that see him and praise him every week. He was desperate to deliver success to us. And that is the sort of guy he is. There was no bullshit. There was no, yeah, I hope we win the final. He was surrounded by good people, and he's surrounding himself with good people and good family and people that want to see him be the best version of him that he can be. And he was genuine. I believe he was genuine when he spoke to me and said, I'm so desperate, not just wanting to deliver that trophy, but he was so desperate to do well in the final. And he was saying to me, I've got to score. I've got to score. It'd be my dream to deliver something to you. As I said, we can question and we can have our opinion, and I'm not trying to sway anyone's opinion about whether it's the right or wrong thing to do. But when you've got ambition, it cannot be matched by our football club. We can't deliver him the promise that he's made himself to compete against the very best and be the very best, because that's not what our trajectory is at the minute. Until, in my opinion, we have new owners, it will never be. I wish Declan all the best, and I will always remember him for as long as I live. He will be one of my favourite West Ham players that ever graced his shirt. But life goes on. The football club's been going for 125 years, and Declan was a small part of that history, which I appreciate. But we've seen players leave, and we've replaced them. And we've seen heroes walk out, and we've replaced them. And it's about doing the very best. From the moment I saw him walk out on that pitch as an 18-year-old kid to the moment that he left the football club today, he's been one of my favourite players. To see him grow into the player he has been a privilege. From a Chelsea reject that come for a trial at West Ham, he now leaves, which is, I think, good for everybody, as one of the best midfielders in the world and a British record transfer fee. I think it's good for all parties. You know, David Sullivan was quite clear that he wanted to go, and let's be honest, it's probably something that he's been aiming to do for a couple of years, because that's the type of guy he is. He's just an ambitious guy. I don't think he means us any harm. I don't think he was ever disingenuous in what he said. I just think it's now time for him personally to take the next step in his journey. It's been a privilege, and I hope we see him come back to West Ham one day. Once he goes off and he fulfills or doesn't fulfill all of his personal ambitions, I just hope, and I think he will, because I think that's the type of guy he is, he will always remember the love and support we gave him. But he's Arsenal's player now. And as I said, life goes on. And we compete in the same league. We compete for the same cups. And I always want West Ham to do best. Thank you for your service. But you're an Arsenal player now. So when it comes to the West Ham Arsenal games, my heart's only in one place. Don't listen to the people online. They just want to goad at the fact that they've taken one of our best players. They've had it done to themselves. Everyone's had it done to them. Every football club in the world. And every set of fans have experienced what we're experiencing today. We will rebuild. And we may be better for it. And if we use the £105 million wisely, Declan may be part of that. But we are West Ham. We'll always be West Ham. We can't change clubs. We won't change clubs. But some people do, and we just have to accept that. Thank you for listening. I know it's been a long rant, but there's one thing left for me to say. Come on, you Irons.